This is Trinity Bellwoods Park in Toronto, and every year this path turns white with cherry blossoms because these are Sakura trees. They're young, but they're part of a 1,000-year-old tradition, born in Japan and brought to Toronto in the 1950s. And while they're incredibly beautiful, they're also a reminder of a very ugly time. During the Second World War, the Canadian government rounded up tens of thousands of Japanese Canadians and shipped them off to internment camps. And it didn't end there. After the war, thousands were deported back to Japan, even though half of them had been born in Canada. Those who weren't deported were forced to move away from the West Coast, and many of them ended up in Toronto. They found plenty of racism here too, of course. They also found allies in their fight for their rights. The Cooperative Committee on Japanese Canadians united organizations from across the country in a campaign against the government's bigotry. There were pamphlets and petitions and public meetings, letters to MPs, and court cases. It took years, but eventually the government was forced to back down. The deportation policy was abandoned. And Japanese Canadians were finally allowed to move back to the West Coast and, for the first time, to vote. A decade later, 2,000 Sakura trees were planted in Toronto as a gift, a thank you from the people of Tokyo who'd been picnicking under them every spring for centuries. And in the decades since, thousands more have been planted as a symbol of friendship between Canada and Japan, including these ones in Trinity Bellwoods. Today, you'll find them all over the city, in Centennial Park and in Broadacres Park, at York University and the University of Toronto, at Queen's Park and on Centre Island and in High Park. And every spring, for just a week or two, they all burst into bloom, a wave of pink and white heralding the spring. And Torontonians emerge from their winter hibernation to soak them in awe of the beauty they've been given from Japan.